Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. Surely, you've heard of the story of Lot, the nephew of Abraham who was a companion of this renowned patriarch. However, have you ever wondered what happened to Lot after his departure from Sodom, along with his two daughters? Many are familiar with the episode where Lot's wife looked back and turned into a pillar of salt, but in this video, we'll explore a fascinating and curious topic: where are Lot's descendants today? Are you aware of the nations that originated from Lot, the nephew of Abraham? Join us in this video and discover more about the history and legacy of Lot and his descendants. Once again, thank you for watching our channel, Unraveling the Scriptures, where we aim to assist in the pursuit of greater knowledge in the Scriptures. With that said, please enjoy another video from our channel. Descendants of Lot, where are they now? Many times, the story of Lot and his origins is not widely known. In fact, Lot was the son of Haran, who was the brother of Abraham and also the brother of Nahor. For those who may not be familiar, Lot had two sisters named Iscah and Milcah. It's worth mentioning that Milcah was married to Nahor, the brother of Haran and the uncle of Lot. Sodom is a city mentioned in the Bible, particularly in the book of Genesis, where it plays a central role in the narrative. According to the biblical account, Sodom was a city notorious for its wickedness and immorality. The story begins in Genesis 13, where Lot, Abraham's nephew, decides to settle near Sodom. Lot chose this fertile region to pasture his livestock, but the biblical text notes that the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful before the Lord, Genesis 13 verse 13. The story continues in Genesis 18 when the Lord appears to Abraham and announces the destruction of Sodom due to its wickedness. Abraham then begins to intercede on behalf of the cities, asking if God would spare the city if 50 righteous people were found in it. God agrees. The negotiation continues with Abraham asking for smaller numbers until it reaches 10 righteous individuals. God promises not to destroy the cities if there are 10 righteous people. However, not even 10 righteous people are found in Sodom. The story continues in Genesis 19, when two angels are sent to Sodom to rescue Lot and his family before the imminent destruction. When the angels arrive in the city, they are welcomed into Lot's house, but the men of the city surround the house and demand that the foreigners be handed over to them for abuse. At this point, the angels reveal to Lot that God will destroy the city that very night. Lot, his wife, and two daughters are then instructed to flee the city without looking back, as the destruction was about to occur. However, Lot's wife's disobedience leads to her tragic transformation into a pillar of salt, an event also recorded in the Bible, Genesis 19 verse 26. The city of Sodom is then consumed by fire and brimstone from heaven, fulfilling the divine decision of destruction, emphasizing the wickedness of the actions and lifestyle of its inhabitants, as narrated in the Bible. The story of Lot is indeed quite tragic, especially considering the events that unfolded after his survival from the destruction of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, brought about by divine intervention due to the great wickedness prevailing in those cities. Lot emerged as the sole survivor of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, a result of God's wrath against the sin that permeated those places. Following Lot's escape from Sodom and the subsequent destruction of the city, a notable episode occurred. Lot's daughters, influenced by ancient Semitic traditions and perhaps by the conduct they had witnessed while living in Sodom and Gomorrah, devised a plan to intoxicate their own father and conceive children with him. This event, involving Lot's relationship with his daughters, resulted in the birth of Moab and Ben-Ammi, who became the ancestors of the Moabites and Ammonites, respectively. Due to the influence of the environment and practices of the city where they had lived, Lot's daughters made the decision to intoxicate their own father and, one after the other, had relations with him. This led to both of them becoming pregnant by their father, as described in the book of Genesis, chapter 19, verse 36, thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The older daughter gave birth to a son named Moab, who became the ancestor of the Moabites, as mentioned in Genesis 19 verse 37. Similarly, the younger daughter gave birth to a son named Ben-Ammi, who became the ancestor of the Ammonites, as indicated in Genesis 19 verse 38, and the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day, and the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the children of Ammon to this day. Some mistakenly believe that the Moabites and Ammonites were related to the Canaanites, but in fact, they had no connection to the Canaanites. Both the Moabites and Ammonites were Semitic peoples, and indeed, they were akin to the Israelites. Similarly, the Ishmaelites and Edomites also shared this Semitic origin, and none of them were descendants of the Canaanites. Although some of these peoples lived in the vicinity of Canaan, they were not Canaanites but rather descendants of Shem, just as Abraham and Lot were Semites. The question that many may have is, where are Lot's descendants today? Currently, the descendants of the ancient Moabites and Ammonites are largely located in Jordan, a Middle Eastern country known for its beauty and rich history. Jordanians are direct descendants of Lot, representing the continuation of these ancient lineages. It's interesting to note that Jordan is the place where the Moabite descendant Ruth, mentioned in the Bible, lived. She married Boaz and is considered an ancestor of Jesus Christ, according to the genealogies recorded in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke. In ancient times, the region that is now Jordan was inhabited by various Semitic peoples, including the Moabites, Ammonites, and Edomites, among others. They played significant roles in the history of the region, sometimes coming into conflict with the Canaanites and other groups. However, over time, the descendants of Lot, particularly the Moabites and Ammonites, established their identities in the region now known as Jordan. In the region that comprises modern-day Jordan, along with other groups, the Edomites, Moabites, and Ammonites also settled. Jordan, in ancient times, was called Edom due to the presence of the Edomites, but before that, the area was known as the land of Uz, mentioned in the book of Job. In addition to these groups, the Nabateans also inhabited the region. The Nabateans were an ancient civilization that flourished in the region now known as Jordan and parts of other Middle Eastern countries, including parts of Saudi Arabia, Israel, Syria, and Iraq, between the 4th century BCE and the 2nd century CE. The Nabateans were one of the 12 tribes of the Ishmaelites and shared Semitic roots. They stood out in the region for their trading talent and are known for creating the impressive city of Petra. Petra is the most famous site associated with the Nabateans. It served as the capital of their kingdom and is renowned for its rock-carved buildings, especially the famous treasury, or Al-Khazna. Petra was a thriving and sophisticated city that served as a crucial trade and caravan center, connecting the east with the west. The Nabateans were successful traders and controlled important trade routes, especially those linking the Red Sea to the Mediterranean and extending into southern Arabia. They were also skilled in building cistern and aqueduct systems to make the most of the arid areas they inhabited. It's important to note the distinction between Ishmael and Jacob. Ishmael is traditionally considered the ancestor of the Ishmaelites, one of the oldest Arab tribes, with his 12 sons contributing to the formation of the Ishmaelite people. On the other hand, Jacob, who also had 12 sons, is the ancestor of the 12 tribes of Israel, each with its own unique history and identity. Ishmael is indeed a name with religious significance, derived from the Aramaic and Hebrew expression that means, God hears, or God listens. He is an important figure in Abrahamic religious traditions and is traditionally regarded as the ancestor of the Ishmaelites, one of the oldest Arab tribes. It's crucial to clarify that many of the peoples mentioned in the Bible still exist today. Contemporary Jordanians, who are of Moabite and Ammonite descent, are an example of this. The notion that many ancient biblical peoples have disappeared is mistaken and lacks foundation. In-depth research can reveal the continuity of these ethnic lineages throughout history. By investigating the origins and descendants of these peoples, interesting connections can be established between biblical narratives and modern ethnic groups. Therefore, arguing that ancient biblical peoples no longer exist is inaccurate, and the Bible itself confirms the continuity of many of these lineages. The story involving Lot's sister and the descendants of Lot in the Middle East is a notable example of how these biblical narratives have relevance and continuity in the present day, providing valuable insights into the cultural heritage of the region. What is your opinion on the video? Also, feel free to share suggestions for topics for future videos, especially for those interested in learning more about the peoples of the Middle East and other characters in biblical genealogy. Thank you for joining us in another video. God bless. See you soon.